Okay, so we're up to Perek Yud Gimel in Shmuel Aleph. We have three quite long prakim today, so let's get started. The Perek starts by telling us that Shaul had 2,000 soldiers with him, and Yonatan, his son, so I think the first time we're introduced to his son, has 1,000. And Yonatan goes at some point and he kills a Netziv Plishtim. Netziv, the most explained, means a Moshel, some kind of a ruler, some kind of an important person amongst the Plishtim, and he killed him. And Shaul starts gathering the troops together because he knows that this means war. And the Plishtim also start preparing for a battle, and with an army far, far greater than the army that the Jews have. And the people of Israel start getting really scared. So much so, they start hiding out. They hide out in the caves, in pits in the ground. Some of them even go across the Jordan and go into the land of Gad and Ruvain and Chatzi Sheva Menashe. Mamash, there is pandemonium, right? What's the word? Pandemonium, sorry. The Jews are scared out of their minds. If you remember, in Perek Yud, Shmuel gave Shaul a few signs that were going to happen. And then he told him, the last thing was, that there's going to come a time, we're going to meet in Gilgal, you're going to go down to Gilgal, and there I want you to wait for me 7 days. And then we're going to offer sacrifices to Hashem, and we'll take it from there. Shaul goes down to Gilgal, and he waits for Shmuel 7 days, as he commanded him. But Shmuel doesn't come, or Shmuel's seemingly late in coming. Therefore, Shaul just stops waiting and doesn't wait the full 7 days, because, as you can imagine, the Plishtim are gathering their troops. He feels that it's absolutely crucial that we get this over with, so to say, and get ready for the battle, or go into battle. So therefore, he loses his patience, and he brings the korbanot, he offers up the korbanot by himself. Shmuel finally comes, right after that, and says to Shaul, what did you do? I told you to wait for me 7 days, and you didn't. Shaul explains, and he says that I waited, but the Plishtim are coming, and therefore I didn't. Therefore, I felt, how am I going to go to battle before I first pray to God or offer up korbanot to God? Therefore, I just did it before you came, because again, the battle was imminent. Shmuel says to Shaul that he sinned by doing this, and that because of this, Hashem is going to take the kingdom away from him, meaning he is not going to be the ultimate king of Israel. His family is not going to have the kingship. So this is a very major event, and you see the reason is because he doesn't have that patience that's needed. He doesn't have that cool collective spirit, the ability to have total faith in Hashem. If the Navi told me to wait 7 days, I have to wait 7 days, and I'm not worried about the Plishtim. Who's going to fight our battles anyway? It's going to be God. He should have waited for Shmuel. Okay. As we're going to see also today, there's another factor that made Shaul lose the kingship. Kanireh, seemingly, this was not the last nail in the coffin. He might have still been able to recover and do complete tshuva and still be the king forever. However, another event happens, which is going to be the final blow. Anyway, we'll get to that. So Shaul and Yonatan and 600 soldiers are waiting for the battle, and the Plishtim begin their attack on 3 different fronts. Now, the Navi tells us that prior to this is just like setting the tone, so to say, of what this battle was about. The Jews barely had any weapons. Why? Because the Plishtim, who were in charge at the time, who basically had the power, they had forbidden any Jew from being involved in to be a blacksmith. Meaning the Jews didn't have people, because they were afraid that what are they going to do? They're going to use their skills and they're going to make weapons. They're not going to use it to make things that are, for regular use, civil use, let's call it. They're going to use it to make weapons, and the Plishtim didn't want the Jews to have weapons, so therefore they outlawed it. Therefore, Bnei Yisrael had no weapons except Shaul and Yonatan. The two leaders, they were the only ones who had weapons. That ends Perek Yud Gimel. Perek Yud Daled. Yonatan and his attendant, his Nosei Kelim, which means the one who carried his weapons, his Kelim, they go to the outpost, let's call it, the outpost of the Plishtim, without telling anybody. In other words, they leave the camp and they sneak up to the outpost of the Plishtim. And the Navi before, and this is going to be important information for later on, the Navi points out that Achiyah, who was a grandson of Eli Hakohen, was the Kohen Gadol at the time. He was the one who wore the ephod at the time, and he was the one basically who had the power, so to say, of the Urim V'Tumim and can tell things, and we're going to get back to that point in a minute. From Psukim, Daled, Hey, Vav, Daled and Hey, the Navi describes to us the terrain between the two camps. It was like a valley and rocks and mountains and cliffs between the two camps. And nonetheless, Yonatan says to his Nar, his young lad who was with him, he said, you know what, let's just go over there. Let's go over to the other side. And maybe Hashem will do a miracle for us. Maybe Hashem will help us. And in a very nice way he says it. He says, Ki ein laHashem, it's the end of Pasuk Vav, Ki ein laHashem ma'atzor. There's nothing that could stop Hashem, lo shia, to save, baravu b'ma'at. God doesn't need a huge army to save the Jewish people. He could save them with a very small army, like just the two of us. And he therefore says to his lad, the lad answers to Yonatan, whatever you do, I'm with you. So Yonatan does as follows. He says, listen, we're going to set a sign. We're going to go over to the outpost of the Plishtim, and we're going to see what they say. They're going to see us. They're going to see us approaching, because this is like a lookout. This is the scouts to make sure that no one's coming to attack, right? If they say to us, Domu, stay there, don't move, right? We're going to come to you, don't move. Then we know that's a sign that we should run away and get out of here, that Hashem is not going to be with us. But if they say to us, come to us, come up here, what do you want? Come to us. That's a sign that Hashem is with us. So they do that. They start going towards this outpost of the Plishtim, and when they get there, the scouts or the guards say, Alu Ailenu, this is Pasuk Yud Bet, come up to us, V'nodia etchem davar, we want to tell you something. That they were saying it like in a joking way, like, come you little fools, come. We have something to tell you, which basically means we're going to kill you. So Yonatan understood from that his sign came true, and that this is a sign that they can beat the Plishtim. So Yonatan and his Nar, just two people, go up and they start smiting the Plishtim. All in one shot, they kill 20 Plishtim. That's Pasuk Yud Daled, Ke'esrimish, and then that causes a chain reaction, And there's total confusion and chaos in the camp of the Plishtim. Everyone thinks that there's this humongous army coming against them, and they start going left and right, all different directions, and everyone starts killing each other because they don't know who's the enemy and who's on their side, who's on the other side, and there's a great chaos, as I said. Shaul hears what's going on, and there was this, again, great screaming and shouts, and he says, okay, someone went and did something, find out who's missing. And they realized that the only one who was missing was Yonatan and his lad. So Shaul decides to ask of the Aron. He asks the Urim V'Tumim, meaning Hashem. He wants to know from Hashem whether they should go up or not. However, there's just no time. He realizes there's not enough time. They have to just go straight to the battle. And that's what they do. And he sees that the Plishtim are just killing each other left and right. All the Jews then join in and start chasing the Plishtim. At this point, yeah.
Is that another example of Shaul not having patience, or?
It could be, although it's a good point. But it doesn't say to the Tanakh that this was a bad thing that he did, but it does mention it, which is strange. Why was that an important point to mention? It could be that it's mentioning that you see here also, like he should have, had the patience. Go ask Achiyah, who was the Kohen at the time. Go ask him whether I should go up or not, but he doesn't, and he says, it's just, we got to go right now. It's now or never.
I mean, this happened also before Hashem, but he didn't know that. This happened also before Hashem.
Right, it could be, but it's something that you should maybe find out about. Again, I'm not sure. It could be just the Tanakh is telling us that's what happened. But either way, at this point, because it was crucial now to kill as many Plishtim and to chase down as many Plishtim as possible and not let them escape, Shaul makes an oath, meaning makes the Jewish people take an oath that, or put it this way, he curses anybody who eats that day, and it's also that they won't stop and take a lunch break, but they should just go and chase down the Plishtim and kill as many as possible. Yonatan doesn't hear about this because he wasn't with everybody else. He doesn't hear about this. And it describes how there was dvash, there was honey in the field. Somehow, either talking about date honey, there was a lot of honey on the ground. Either way, Yonatan takes his stick, puts it into the honey, and takes a little bit of a taste of the honey. His eyes light up, which means that little bit of nourishment helped him go on, gave him strength. Now, he then hears about his father's curse, that he cursed anybody who eats, and he basically criticizes it. He criticizes his own father for doing that because he says it makes no sense. He says if the people would be able to eat and strengthen themselves, they would be able to kill more Plishtim and do better in battle. But because they're all hungry and thirsty and weak, they're not going to be able to do as good as they could. And that's exactly what happens. The people are very weak, and when it's finally nightfall, right? They kill many Plishtim, but when it's finally nightfall, they basically, it's like? It's like when you fast, like on Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av, and finally, it's right after Ma'ariv, you don't want to do anything else but grab something to eat. You just have no patience whatsoever, right? So that's what they do. They're tired, and they just take animals, and they eat the animals the way the Navi says it, al hadam. What does it mean, al hadam? So the Torah says, Mefurash, lo tochlu al hadam. It's an Isser, it's a lav in the Torah. There are many different interpretations there in the Chumash. What does it mean, lo tuchol adam? Here also, there are different interpretations as to what exactly the people did that was considered a sin. Chazal say what they did was they were makdish shlamim. In other words, they offered these animals up not as, they didn't just slaughter them, they brought them up as shlamim, as korbanot. But a shlamim is you eat part of the animal, you eat most of the animal. You just put the intestines on the mizbeach, and the rest you eat. The problem is you have to first do zrikat adam, sprinkle the blood of the mizbeach before you can eat the meat. But they were so hungry that they ate it before they did zrikas dam. That's what it means, lo tochul al adam, and that was the sin they did. Rashi says what they did was they wanted so many animals to eat that they shechted a mother and a son in the same day. The pasuk says, "Otovet beno lo tishchatu b'yom echad." You're not allowed to slaughter an animal and its child in the same day, and they couldn't help themselves, and they did so. That was the sin. The Radak says that no, they shechted the animals straight on the ground, and there was puddles of blood, and the animals themselves were in the blood, and therefore they ended up actually eating blood unintentionally, but because they were in such a rush and they didn't do it the proper way, therefore they ended up eating dam, which of course is a big issur in the Torah. You're not allowed to eat blood. Either way, they did a sin. Shaul builds a bama, a temporary altar, and he demands that everybody shechts there in order to fix the sin. Again, each person, each mefaresh, based on what they said the sin was, will explain what did it help to have a bama, why did that solve the problem. Either way, Shaul tries to remedy the situation. And he also builds an altar to Hashem. Now, Shaul wants to, I'm running up to Pasuk Lamed Vav, Shaul wants to continue fighting against the Plishtim, and he asks the Urim V'Tumim, but Hashem doesn't answer him. He asks the Urim, he asks Achiyah, the Kohen Gadol, ask the Urim V'Tumim, whether I should go out to battle or not, whether I should continue chasing down the Plishtim and killing them, and he doesn't get any answer. And he tries to figure out why God is angry and he's not answering him. So he casts lots, and the lot falls upon who else but his son. Because don't forget, he had issued a curse against anybody who eats on that day, and his son Yonatan did. So that's why Hashem wasn't answering him. So the lot was cast upon Yonatan, and Yonatan says, that's fine. Oh, I'm sorry. So Shaul asks his son, what did he do? And Yonatan explains, I took a little bit of the dvash, a little bit of the honey, and therefore he says, I'm ready to die. You know, that was the curse. You're supposed to, you said anybody who eats it should die. I'm okay. And Shaul Be'emet also says, you know, obviously he wasn't happy about it, but he says, you have to die. That was the curse. You have to die. But the people save Yonatan. They say, that is ridiculous. He's the one who brought this whole salvation to us. He's the one, him and his lad went and started smiting the Plishtim, and that's what caused the whole victory for the Jewish people, and he should die? That makes no sense. And they saved it. It says in Mefurash, it says, Vayifdu in Pasuk Mem Hey, Vayifdu Ha'amet Yonatan V'lo Meit. They saved, they pada means they save or redeem. Thank you. They redeemed Yonatan and he didn't die. Yeah, you were going to ask a question?
Is it? I think, don't we say this after Shabbos on the brachos in Zayron? After like the Kirtei brachos in Zayron?
What do we say? Which part of it do we say?
Like after some people say like
right, I know what you're talking about. Vayiten Lacha, right?
I think we say this part of the Yonatan.
Oh, it could be. I don't say it so much. I know I should, but the shul that I usually daven in doesn't say it, so I don't usually say it. Okay. Anyway, basically, so Shaul doesn't go out to battle, and the Plishtim go back home, back to their place, and the parak ends by saying that Shaul strengthens his kingship, and he smites many enemies of Israel. It says here, Bnei Ammon, Edom, Tzova, Plishtim, etc., and he was very successful in all of his battles. And then at the very end of the parak, from Mem Tet all the way till the end on Bet, is just a list of Shaul's sons, his daughters, his wife, all the different names, and his Sar Tzava, his general of his army. This is important for future time. We have to know that Shaul's sons were Yonatan, Yishvi, Malkishua. There were other sons mentioned other places in Tanakh, and the Mefarshim explain why here it wasn't mentioned. Not important for us right now. His two daughters were Meirav and Michal. You'll hear those names when we come to David. His wife, just important information, I want to ask you, what's Shaul's wife's name? Achinoam bat Achimaatz. And who was the Sar Tzavav of Shaul? Avner ben Ner, very famous. Avner ben Ner, again, we'll talk about him a lot in the upcoming chapters. Good, that's the end of this parak. Last parak for today, parak Tedvav, is the famous parak of the battle against Amalek. Shmuel tells Shaul, in the name of Hashem, of course, it's time to destroy Amalek. There are 3 mitzvot that the Jews have to do when they get into Eretz Yisrael: appoint a king, kill out Amalek, and then build a Beis HaMikdash. Destroy Amalek, right? So they have a king. Now it's time to destroy Amalek. So Hashem says to Shaul, go and kill out Amalek. Shaul gathers together all of the soldiers, and he says to the Keni, who was descendants of Yitro, right? He says to them, you better move away, because they were friends of the Jewish people. We had a covenant with them, so therefore he says, move out so we can go and kill out the Amalek. And Behemet, Shaul goes out to battle against the Amalekim, and he deals them a great blow. He kills basically everybody, except he keeps Agag, the king of Amalek, alive. And even though he was told to destroy everything, everything, including the animals, everything, he keeps the animals alive. He says he's merachem, he has rachmanus on the best of the sheep and the cattle. And that's the end of the battle. Hashem, at this point, appears to Shmuel and says, I regret having, which is a big philosophical question. How can Hashem regret something? That means he made a mistake. Chas v'shalom. Okay, doesn't matter. The point is, Hashem regrets having appointed Shaul as king because he didn't listen to what I said or to what you said to him. And Shmuel cries out to Hashem the entire night, begging him, because it's very, very difficult for Shmuel. Shmuel then goes to Shaul and rebukes him. At first, Shaul gives all types of firstly, he denies it. He denies he did anything wrong. He said, I did exactly what you said. I killed that Amalek, everything. And then he says, but I saved the best of the cattle and the sheep to offer up as korbanot, to offer up as sacrifices to Hashem. Shmuel says to him, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you what Hashem told me last night. And he tells him that Hashem said that you are not going to be king anymore. You lost the kingship. And he gives him a whole bunch of very famous psukim, which we don't have time really to go through. But he says to him, why didn't you listen? Why did you save these cattle and the sheep, etc.? So Shaul, it finally admits and says, first he denies that he really sinned. And he says that it was the people who took the animals, and it was all for a good reason. It was to bring him up as korbanot to Hashem. And then Shmuel says, you know what? What do you think Hashem wants more? Korbanot, or for you to listen to what he says? Hashem doesn't care about korbanot. He's not like he needs a meal. Hashem wants the Jewish people to listen to what he asks for, and that was the problem. Finally, after all this, Shaul admits that he sinned, and he begs Shmuel to at least go back with him. It was basically put on airs as if everything's fine, and go back with him, and they'll bow down to Hashem together. Shmuel says, no way, I'm not going with you anymore. Hashem has rejected you as the king. So Shmuel turns around to leave. Shaul grabs him by the tails of his coat, and it rips. And then Shmuel says, aha, that's a sign that Hashem has torn away from you the kingship. And Shaul nonetheless asks him, please give me kavod, give me the honor in front of the people, and Shmuel does so. And at this point, Shmuel says, bring me Agag, the king of Amalek, and he takes out his sword, Shmuel, and he kills him on the spot. And let's just read the last two psukim. Vayelech Shmuel haramata. Shmuel goes home to Ramah, where he lives. Shaul ala el beito, givat Shaul. Shaul goes home. V'lo yasaf Shmuel lirot et Shaul ad yom moto. Shmuel did not see Shaul again until the day he died. Ki hitabel Shmuel el Shaul. Shmuel was in mourning. It was a terrible thing. He appointed him as king, and this king, is not continuing as king. V'Hashem nicham ki himlichat Shaul al Yisrael. And Hashem again, nicham means he regretted having made Shaul the king. And this is a important turning point in the history of the Jewish people.